Alright, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, we're going to be finally doing our top 10 rankings. I did this last year. We're doing it again this year. Top 10 in positions. Today, top 10 point guards in the NBA. This was a very hard list to make. There's so many amazing point guards in the league right now, but decided to do it here in today's video. Yeah, let's get right into it. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, turn on notifications, do all that stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. Join the membership. If you want to learn more about the membership, there's a video on my channel explaining about it. You can go back and watch that. Link to my Twitters and all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, before we get into the rankings, just want to say that these are all my personal rankings and personal opinions. If you disagree, that's okay. Leave it down below in the comments section, what you disagree with, who you think would be higher, lower, what your personal top 10 is, all the stuff like that. And yeah, it's not wasting any more of your time. Let's get right into it. We start our list at number 10. Number 10, I have Damian Lillard from the Milwaukee Bucks. Dame last season, he averaged 24, 4, and 7 with a steal on 42, 35, 92 shooting splits. And then in the playoffs in their first round series against Indiana, in 4 games he played, he averaged 31, 3, and 5 with a steal on 42, 41, 97 splits. Dame last year, his first year in Milwaukee, after, of course, the big trade request and all that stuff. It just wasn't as amazing of a year as we usually see from Damian Lillard, but also from what we expected from Damian Lillard now, finally being in a winning situation. Looking at just statistically, these numbers are his worst in a little while, excluding 2022, where he only played 29 games that season due to a abdominal injury at Portland. Excluding that year, 2022, his efficiency and his numbers were some of the lowest in a very long time. 42% from the field, that's his lowest since 2014, which is his second year in the league. 35% from three, which again, excluding that year in Portland, where he only played 29 games, that's his lowest shooting year from three since 2015, his third year in the league. 24.3 points per game, again, excluding that 2022 year, that's his lowest since 2015, again, his third year in the league. So this was statistically one of Dame's worst seasons in almost 10 years, really. And then look at him on the court, just didn't feel the same Damian Lillard, which, of course, now he has to share the court with Giannis, where in Portland he never had to share the court with anybody that amazing. So it kind of was just Dame's show. Now kind of having to adjust to back being that number 2 guy where not everything surrounds him anymore. It definitely looked like a little bit of adjustment. A lot of times where he was a lot more passive than we usually see from Damian Lillard. A lot of times deferring to Giannis or deferring to anyone else, or not really getting into that Dame mode that we know he can get into. And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of context behind it. Of course, the trade happened very, very late into the offseason. So it's not like he had a lot of time to really, work out and adjust to getting in the Milwaukee system. He kind of got traded and then had to get right away into training camps and all that stuff. He had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life that became public, that really affected him. Said a lot about, now he's in Milwaukee, which is just a big difference in culture and change between, Portland. And there's just a lot of factors that were involved in Damian Lillard not having the best year last year in Milwaukee. But now that he has a full offseason to work out with the Bucks, and now he finally knows, okay, I'm here now. I'm expecting a big jump, bounce back into being what Damian Lillard was in Portland next year with the Milwaukee Bucks. But right now he drops to 10. It's very weird to see Dame this kind of low on the point guard list. But it's still Damian Lillard. He still was an all-star last year, all-star starter, which was a little controversial, but still was an all-star. And he had a really good playoff moments. Again, Giannis wasn't there, but he had amazing playoff moments. In the first 2 games in Indiana, he was lighting the Pacers up, So there's still Damian Lillard is still in there. He's 34 years old, and he's still got a lot of game left in him. It's just, again, there's a lot of context surrounding last year, why it was kind of a big drop-off year from Dame in his first year in Milwaukee. But again, I'm really expecting him to bounce back next year and jump high up this list next season. At number 9, for the top 10 point guards, I have Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks. Young last year, he averaged 25 points, almost 3 rebounds, and almost 11 assists per game with a steal on 43, 37, 85 shooting splits. Feels like Trey Young has become one of the more disrespected players in the NBA for the past 2 seasons. Of course, back in 2021, they had the big conference finals run and all that stuff. And since then, there has been not much team success. Then 2 years ago, they made the trade for DeJounte Murray, and you could definitely tell Young and DeJounte just didn't work out. Just it didn't fit together. Now DeJounte Murray is on to his next team, and Trey Young has become kind of one of the guys where it's like, can he really take a team to the next level? Is he a number one? All this stuff like that. Even though statistically, look at the last 2 years, it's been great. I mean, last year he averaged 26, 3, and 10. Um, 2024, 25, and 10. The efficiency has gone down. The last 2 years, the efficiency has not been great. But when you have a guy like Trey Young, who's number one, and he's going to take he's going to have the ball in his hands 99% of the time. He's going to take a lot of different shots. You don't expect him to be a 50, 40, 90 type player. You know what I mean? He's never been that, and he probably won't be. But Trey Young is still really, really good. I mean, you can look statistically and say, 25 and 10, that's not something that many people can do, especially for full lengths of seasons, especially for multiple years in a row. Absolutely. But, I mean, he still is one of the better point guards we have in the league. He's still a guy that can be an offense by himself. Him on his own can be a top five offense in the NBA. We've seen that. Even last year, the Hawks were one of the best offenses in the league. It's just they didn't really equate to winning because of the way this team was built and the way him and DeJounte didn't really fit together. And now DeJounte's gone. Trey Young's back as the primary guy, full on number one. Even though he was with DeJounte Murray, but now he doesn't have another guy that takes the ball out of his hands. And maybe we could see some more success from Trey Young. I mean, he's still really, really good. You could say what you want about the efficiency, about the defense, where he doesn't really provide too much, but he's never probably going to provide a lot because he's a small guard and it's just not something that small guards do a whole lot, especially when you have the offensive capabilities and responsibilities that Trey Young has. But Trey is still one of the most elite point guards in the NBA. He's still a guy that, again, can give you 25 points and 10 assists on a consistent basis. How many guys can do that? Can give you 25 points and 10, can average 25 points and 10 assists consistently? Not many people can do that. So I'm very excited to see Trey Young next year, what he can be like with the Atlanta Hawks, with, again, him all by himself again, and see if he has a really big season next year. I don't know how much I'm really counting on the Atlanta Hawks' success in terms of them being a playoff team or any of that stuff. But again, you'll never know. But we'll see what happens. At 8 for my top 10 point guards, I have Darren Fox of the Sacramento Kings. Fox last year averaged 26 points per game with over 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals, which led the league while shooting 46, 37, 73 splits. De'Aaron Fox has been incredible for the Kings. Every year he's gotten better and better and better, and it just feels like he just keeps ascending. The 26 points per game last year were a career high. The rebounds were a career high. Steals career high. Just doing amazing things. Even though he wasn't awarded with an All-Star or anything like that, he played absolutely amazing last season. He's become an amazing point guard. I feel like probably one of the more underrated point guards in the league as well, which is he's only underrated because we have so many amazing point guards in the league right now. It's just he has just kind of been the guy that's just not really been talked about because, well, one, he plays in Sacramento, and two, because guys like Curry, Luka, they have done a lot more statistically and have more accolades. But De'Aaron Fox is incredible. We all know about the athleticism, what he can do there. But the way he's developed into a shooter, his mid-range jumper has been incredible. His three-point shot. Last year he shot 37% on almost 8 attempts. That's pretty good, especially for De'Aaron Fox, a guy who has always been kind of a 32-ish, like that kind of percentage three-point shooter. For him to become this solid is really, really good. Defensively, he can do really good things. And has just become a leader on this Kings team. Like, again, 2023, he won Clutch Play of the Year. Last year, he didn't. But just the way he leads this team in the clutch, being like, all right, I got us, team. And the way he's led the Sacramento Kings back into being kind of not a dumpster fire anymore, which is also predicated to the front office and them making moves. But De'Aaron Fox has become incredible over there in Sacramento. And Yeah, I feel like it sucks that he's one of those guys that just I feel like doesn't get mentioned as much when we talk about the top point guards because again there's so many amazing PGs in the league right now that have done so much more. So Darren kind of gets put down a little bit, but Darren Fox is really incredible. One of the funnest games to watch as well. He's got a really nice game. If you sit down and watch Darren Fox, you're like, dang, this guy's really great, and I can't wait to watch him more this season. At number 7 on my top 10 point guard list, we have Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers. Maxey last year averaged almost 26 points per game with 3 rebounds, 6 assists, and a steal on 45, 37, 86 shooting splits. And then in the playoff series against the New York Knicks, he averaged almost 30 points per game with 5 rebounds, almost 7 assists on 47, 40, 89 splits. I mean, what a year Tyrese Maxey had. I mean, coming into last season, they had the whole James Harden situation of is he going to get traded? What's going to happen over there with him? And they ultimately ended up trading James Harden because the Sixers believed Tyrese Maxey could take over and Tyrese Maxey could be the leading point guard, which I think we all kind of thought he could do. But I don't think anybody expected Tyrese to take this jump this early. Like year one of being the guy at point guard, he has this type of season. I mean, maybe in another year or two we could have seen something like this, but I don't think anybody expected from year one the jump he made. I mean, went from 2023 he averaged 23 and 3 to last year 26, 3 and 6, career highs everywhere, points, rebounds, assists, steals, like all of that. And while still shooting the ball efficiently. In 2022, 2023, he shot over 40% from three, which, yeah, but then he takes more threes. He takes 8 threes a game, still shoots 37% from three and 45% from the field. And being a guy that doesn't really need the ball in his hands to do much. Playing off of Joel Embiid, he could still be a catch and shoot guy, still be a guy that gets it 1 or 2 dribbles. It's a mid range, or it's a 3 pointer, or it's a get to the rim layup. Like just not needing to ISO and be like, all right, my turn for 10 seconds. To be able to have the numbers and the efficiency that he has is great. All star, one MIP, which well deserved, just incredible. And then you get to the playoffs, and he got even better. I mean, the playoff series, he averaged almost 30 points per game on 47, 40 shooting splits. Crazy. Of course, he had the moment in Game 5 in New York where he had the 4-point play and the big shots to bring their team back from the dead into going to overtime and winning that game. So many great, incredible playoff moments as well with Joel Embiid. It's just insane to see Tyrese Maxey take this type of jump again this early. Like, not even just the jump, it's just how year one of no James Harden, he said, "All right, my turn now," and has done these great things. It's crazy, and now and he's still only 23 years old. I mean, what more can he do this year? How much is he going to improve now? Adding in Paul George, like it is crazy. And even last year when Joel Embiid missed that huge stretch, he still put up numbers. Now, did they win as much? No, but that's also because this Sixers team was built for Joel Embiid to be there. This team was built to be surrounding Joel Embiid, not just to go out there with Tyrese Maxey as our number one. But Tyrese Maxey putting up these are number one type numbers. These are star player number one on a team type numbers as your number two option. I mean, that's crazy. So huge credit to Tyrese Maxey for being able to get right into that situation and play really well. And I'm very interested to see how does he improve this season. At number 6 on our top 10 point guard list, I have Tyrese Haliburton from the Indiana Pacers. Haliburton last year averaged 20 points, almost 4 rebounds, and almost 11 assists per game, which led the NBA with a steal on 47, 36, 85 shooting splits. Haliburton had an incredible year last year for the Indiana Pacers. After in 2023, he first broke out, was an all-star, but injuries unfortunately affected him. Last year, he had a big year. Again, injuries affected him. He had a hamstring injury that he was kind of playing through, which, second half of the season was not as great. But Halliburton still had an electric season, made All NBA third team, was an All Star again. Just incredible stuff. Leading the league in assists. And then in the playoffs as well, he averaged 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists, and a steal on 48, 38, 85 splits. So, yeah, you definitely tell the second half of the season the injuries kind of affected him. But Halliburton is kind of similar to what I said about Trey Young. He's a top offense by himself. Just the way he could be an offensive engine where he's a pass first point guard, which nowadays in the NBA, especially with guys that are tasked with handle the ball as much as Haliburton does. You don't see as many pass first guys, point guards in the league as much as you did, before in the early 2000s and all that stuff because the way the point guard has changed to being the lead guy. But Halliburton still being a pass first guy that gets everyone involved that can still give you 20 points per game on good efficiency as well. Even though last year was a kind of a down 3 point shooting year after he was a 40% 3 point shooter for the first 3 years of his career, but he also took the most of his career, where almost 8 a game. But I mean, you saw in the first half of the season how much he can be a scoring guy, how he can tap into his scoring ability. It's just that he's more of a pass first guy. But I think this upcoming season, if he can tap into that scoring ability a lot more, and hopefully injuries don't affect him. So far, this 2 years in Indiana, 2 full seasons in Indiana, injuries have kind of affected him into seeing what he can do for a full year. 2023, he only played 56 games. Last year, he actually played 69 games, but you also know he had to play those games because if he didn't, then he wouldn't have been eligible for a lot of awards and stuff. And there's a lot of times where he played through injury where he probably shouldn't have. But Halliburton, hopefully he can kind of tap into that scoring more, and hopefully he can be a lot more healthy in 2025. But Halliburton is incredible, man. Say what you want about, a lot of other stuff about he's corny or whatever. I don't care. But the way he can run an offense and the way he can run this Indiana Pacers system, how he can be kind of he could be an engine. He's literally an offensive engine, and I can't wait to see because I think this year could be a year where he really breaks out and has like a 23 point, 10 assists, or 24 and 11 assist type season. I think he could. Will I bet on it? I don't know, but I think he has the capabilities to do that. At number 5, in the top 10 point guard list, we have John Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies. Morant only played in 9 games last year. In those 9 games, he averaged 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists on 47, 27, 81 shooting splits. Now, Morant was a very tough guy to rank on this list just because, again, he only played 9 games last season. But when he did play, the Grizzlies were really, really good. And we know John Morant is one of the top point guards in the league. Last 2 years in 2022 and 2023, he was an all-star, made All-NBA second team in 2022, won MIP in 2022. He has been incredible. Now, of course, there's been a lot of off-court situations that have really kind of forced John Morant, one, to miss games last year, and two, have kind of changed a lot of the perception and perspective on John Morant. But looking at him on the court and what he does, he's a superstar. I mean, he has ignited this Memphis Grizzlies team. He's taken this Grizzlies team from being pretty bad for a little, like maybe a year or two, into consistently one of the top teams in the West. I mean, that's incredible, especially at the young age that this team was. I mean, he's a human highlight reel, one of the most fun players to watch in the NBA, like it or not. I mean, the guy's electric. The guy can get to the rim and do just masterful things. Even statistically, what he does at the rim is incredible for a guard. He can do that. He can play make. He can pass the ball. Defensively, he's going to be able to do some things. Just incredible stuff that John Morant does. He's a superstar. John Morant, I believe, firmly believe, is a superstar on the court. And now that he's going to be back next season, the full Memphis Grizzlies gang is back together. Hopefully, they will have a big year and maybe could get back to doing what they were doing before last season, where a lot of guys got hurt. But John Morant is absolutely incredible. I don't think I really need to tell you. You could just go watch and see how amazing John Morant really is. And I do firmly believe he is a superstar player. And I think next year he can have kind of a revenge tour in a sense, showing everybody, hey, don't forget that I exist here as well. At number 4, the top 10 point guard list, I have Jaylen Brunson of the New York Knicks. Brunson last season averaged 28 points per game with 3 rebounds and 6 assists on 48, 40, 84 shooting splits. And then the playoff run, he averaged 32 points per game with 3 rebounds and 7.5 assists on 44, 31, 77 shooting splits. Jaylen Brunson has become a star player. He has become incredible. I mean, 2023, his first year in New York, he set the league on fire, having a big season, you know, like averaging 24, 6 assists, bringing New York back to the playoffs. But then last season, he got even better, which is crazy because honestly, if you go back before the season started, I was saying Jaylen Brunson, I don't know how much better is he gonna get. Like I wouldn't even been surprised if he had a little bit of a downward year statistically, but he proved me wrong and everybody wrong because he took it to another level, which I didn't think was possible, but it was. I mean, 28.6 assists, All Star, All NBA second team, top five in MVP voting, on good efficiency, leading the Knicks to a conference final. No, second round appearance. And in the playoffs, he got even better, averaging 32 points per game in the playoffs. Incredible. He has become the king of New York. I mean, him and Aaron Judge are right now fighting for that crown. And Jaylen Brunson has been the king of New York. He has been a superstar in every sense of the word since becoming a New York Knick. Even taking the contract extension this year to help the team out more than himself. It's been incredible to watch Jaylen Brunson become this. I mean, I was a big fan of him coming out of Villanova and being in Dallas. I was a fan of him. I thought he could be a really solid player. But I don't think anybody in the world expected Jaylen Brunson would have thought Jaylen Brunson had this type of talent in him. Like it's absolutely incredible to watch him play. Being a small guard that can get to the rim. Like usually small guards that do this are guys like Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, guys that are heavy 3-point shooters and guys that do that. Jaylen Brunson is a guy that gets to the rim and gets to the mid range and works in the post and doing stuff like this. Now he has become a good 3-point shooter. He shot 40% from three. And in three of the last 4 seasons, he's been a 40% 3-point shooter. But the way he can get to the rim and the way he can use his body and get to the free throw line and gets into the paint and gets to the post is just absolutely incredible for him to have this type of production. Now, again, I won't be surprised if the numbers drop next season just because Julius Randle will be back for a full year. They have more talent, but the play will not drop off because Jaylen Brunson has shown now he can do this. You know, again, it's just so crazy to think that Jaylen Brunson is this type of guy. Like, I don't think anybody would have ever expected anything like this from him. At number 3, on the top 10 point guard list, I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the OKC Thunder. Last season, Shai averaged 30 points per game with 5.5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals on 53, 35, 87 shooting splits. Shai has become an amazing player. I mean, back in 2022, like before he had the big breakout last year, where he averaged 31 last season, I was like, yeah, Shai's one of the more underrated players in the league. Like, this dude is incredible. If OKC lets him fully off the leash, he's going to be good. I don't think I expected Shai to be ever this good. I mean, 30 point per game score, All NBA first team, All Star, second in MVP voting. I mean, that is crazy. And the way he do efficient, I mean, he shot a career high from the field last year. 53% from the field while averaging 30 points per game. Like that's insane for a guard. That is absolutely insane. But Shai just does so many things. Also in the playoffs, he averaged 37 and 6 with a steal and a block on 49, 43, 79 shooting splits. In his first ever like real legit as the star playoff series, he did really, really fine. So you could put that question to bed as well. That was a lot of questions. People are like, well, how's he gonna do in the playoffs? He did just fine in the playoffs. You know, it's just his team was young. But yeah, Shai's become one of the best players in the NBA. I mean, his game is so smooth. I mean, he's able to get by anybody he wants to and get to the rim and finish whenever he wants. He gets to the free throw line a whole lot as well. Not an amazing 3-point shooter, but when he needs to hit him, he can hit him. He's a superstar. He is a superstar, an amazing basketball player, and leading a young team to heights that we didn't think was possible. I mean, the Oklahoma City Thunder were the number 1 seed in the West last year. Coming into last season, I think just being a playoff team would have been a successful season. But for them to be the number 1 seed in the West is crazy. And now they're on track to probably be number 1. There'll be my vote for number 1 in the West again this season. I mean, it's great. But Shai has become absolutely amazing. All the things he can do. I mean, it's not really much to say. I mean, you know who Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. If you see him play, you'll understand, like, yeah, this guy is absolutely incredible. Is probably going to be another All-NBA first team, All-Star starter, MVP candidate for the next few years. I mean, he's 20, he just turned 26 years old. He's still 26. It's crazy. He's still 26, and there's still so much more he can accomplish in this league. It is absolutely incredible to see what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has become. And yeah, I mean, there's not, once we get to the top, there's not much more to say. I mean, we already know how great these guys are. At number 2, on the top 10 point guard list, I have Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors. Curry last season averaged 26 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 5 assists on 45, 40, 92 shooting splits. Now, Curry didn't have as much playoff success, didn't have much team success as guys like Shai and Jaylen Brunson, guys who were just number 3 and number 4 on the list. But Steph Curry is still absolutely elite. I would still take Steph Curry like most times when taking players and ranking players, because I mean it's Steph Curry. He is 36 years old, and maybe this is me just taking entire careers into it, but it's still Steph Curry. I mean, he's still incredible. He still had an amazing season, won Clutch Player of the Year, still made All NBA. It was an All Star despite his team being a 10 seed. Still doing that. Still had an amazing season. Still played 74 games, which is the most he's played since 2017. He was still amazing. It's not his fault that the Warriors aren't as good anymore. And honestly, I think maybe the Olympics also took me into this ranking because his Olympic run was absolutely incredible. Those last 2 games were just like that. That was a moment that's gonna live on in Olympic history and basketball history for a long time. Steph Curry is still absolutely great. Very interested to see how the Warriors play this season. I'm not really doubting Steph Curry at all for him to have another elite season despite him being 36 years old. It's just really more about the team and how the team is going to react and adapt with these new players and no Klay Thompson anymore. But Steph Curry is still Stephen Curry, you know? Like, despite how old he is, he's still the greatest shooter to ever live, and he's still one of the best point guards in basketball. And finally, at number 1 top 10 point guards list, the best point guard in the NBA, in my opinion, Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks. Luka last year led the league in scoring, averaging almost 34 points per game with 9 rebounds, almost 10 assists, and a steal on 48, 38, 78 shooting splits. And then in his playoff run, he averaged almost 29 points per game with 9.5 rebounds, 8 assists, and almost 2 steals on 44, 32, 76 shooting splits. Luka Doncic is Luka Doncic. Last year, All NBA first team, All Star, top 3 in MVP, led the league in scoring, made all the way to the NBA Finals, where unfortunately they lost to the Boston Celtics. But just so many moments. I mean, it's Luka, really. He has so many moments, so many amazing things that he does in the playoffs. Of course, the step back over Rudy Gobert lives in everyone's mind. The way he just absolutely dominated so many different players, like the way he just carried this team all the way to the NBA Finals, is just incredible. He's gonna win an MVP at some point. I would bet on him to win MVP next season, I assume, because I personally think the Mavericks are going to be one of the best teams or one of the top seeds in the Western Conference. I mean, there's not really much more to say about Luka Doncic. I mean, he's been incredible. We saw some defensive plays even last year where he was locked in at some points throughout the playoff run. But yeah, I mean, he's 25 years old. Luka Doncic is 25 years old, and his resume is 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA player, scoring champion, Rookie of the Year, Western Conference Finals MVP, averaging 28, 8, and 8 for his career. I mean, I made a video a couple months ago after a 73-point game saying we're witnessing the next GOAT, where he's on track to be one of the top players of all time. And once it gets to the top, it's just not really much to say because Luka Doncic is just so incredible. Personally, for me, I think he's the best player in the world right now. It's between him and Jokic. I feel like are just going back and forth on it for me personally. But I would think, me personally, I think Luka Doncic is the best basketball player in the world right now for me. And him being number 1 on the point guard list was just a no doubter in my mind. And yeah, that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, let me know down in the comments below who your personal top 10 point guards are, what you disagree with on the list and all that stuff. At the end of the day, it's just a ranking. It doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, once again, if you do like the content, consider subscribing, turn on notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.